Hello.
Hello. And how are you? Good day, good night, good morning, wherever you are.
We're getting some singing in there today.
However near or far. Okay, that's enough. Hello, everybody. This is Rev'd Consulting. We're back. We have another good, great, positive conversation for you that we hope that you can appreciate. And
yes. And so today we wanted to talk about, the topic is, who is your crossing guard? So who are the people that you're placing, whether if it's in your organization or practice, at your front end, and who are the people at the very top?
Yes.
And are they the right people to be placed in those positions?
Yes. Who are the people in your neighborhood? In your neighborhood. Remember that?
Yeah, I love that show.
In your neighborhood. Yeah. Yes, that's important. You've got to have a neighborhood. Well, when you have a neighborhood, but you got to know who the people are. Who's your crossing guard? Who is your front end gatekeeper? Who is your manager extraordinaire, or your highest level?
Call him the conductor.
Manager? Yes. Who's your air traffic controller?
Yes.
And that's important for you to know who they are. Not literally who they are, their name, but who they really are. So I was telling Tina, I remember as a little girl in elementary school, there was each month the principal, and I think it would be by way of the teacher, would select a crossing guard. Like a child crossing guard. Now, of course, they didn't send this child out to the corner to help all of the school cross. At the end of the day, he or she would stand alongside an adult crossing guard. But there was criteria for you to be a crossing guard, and the the criteria was based on, I'm sure, character, work ethic, like what type of grade you produce. Like, you had to be high honor roll, because then you would show you have proven that you are a hard worker and that you have work ethic. What's some other characteristics?
I would say someone who has integrity. And actually, my daughter, we just recently got an award at school for showing integrity.
She's like her mommy.
Oh, thanks. But someone who knows how to lead people, someone who's going to stand up and knows the right thing to do, and can set a positive environment.
Yes. And so, just like there was a criteria for the crossing guard in my elementary school, there should be criteria that's set for your gatekeeper, your crossing guard, air traffic controller, your managers, because they set the tone for everything. And everybody is watching. Your patients, your staff, internal, external customers, and you want your patients and your external, internal customers to feel a good way when they come to your practice or your office, and you want them to come back. No, we don't want patients to stay sick, but we want them to come back. If they have to come back, we want them to come back to us and not transfer their care.
You want them to choose you in your practice for a reason. Right. So the reason why I think these two positions are so important is because your front office, they are your gatekeepers, right? So they are the people who greet your patients. They are the first impression. As everybody knows, first impressions matter. Even if you say that it doesn't, it does. That's the thing that sticks in your mind. So if you come into an office, and I've had this several times, where I've been into a doctor's office and the front office people were just rude, or they weren't welcoming, or even if I had a question about my appointment, they just seemed like I was just bothering them. And I can tell you, even based on that first impression, even if the doctor was amiable and knew what they were doing, but if I left that office with a bad feeling, I was not going to come back. And I can surely tell you that I would not recommend that practice to a family or a friend. So that first impression matters. So that's why your gatekeeper has to be the person who sets the tone immediately. And likewise goes for the person at the top, your leaders, your operations people, your presidents, whatever they may be, whatever their title is, because their influence will trickle down and influence everyone else within that organization too. So and I've also been in workplaces too, where at the top, they are just toxic. They do not show integrity. And that just kind of, that level of toxicity just kind of trickles down and touches everybody in that organization and just really brings you to a point where you're just feeling low. And that is definitely not a place where you want to be long term.
Right. Some people are in positions, high positions for titles and money, not for purpose and impact. Of course, we all have to make a dollar because we have to pay our bills, right? Some people choose to go into management or to lead because they are innately just those kind of people. They want to impact lives. Some people do because they're like, "Oh, I can make more money, so let me go into this position." But they are far from a leader or far from far from having the characteristic, the traits that you would need to see and want in a leader, so that you can have an effective organization and the people in the organization feel what they need to feel to do the work that they are hired to do. So it's important because there was one particular practice that I worked in before. It was a toxic front end, toxic in that it seemed like no one really knew what they were doing. And so they kept passing the torch to each other. Like, no, did you call? No, he called. You called them. No, but you're supposed to do this, and pointing fingers, and it was, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And unfortunately,
it happens a lot. That's a common occurrence.
Yes, and unfortunately, that has to be addressed and corrected quickly so that you can make sure that the reasons those people are there, which is making sure that patients are registered, documentation is in the account, in the EMR correctly, that the people are being cared for efficiently, like you're checking them in, they're going back, the doctor's seeing them promptly, having the office visit and checking them out, giving them instructions for the next visit or for the test or whatever it is. You want things to flow, and you don't want the people who are already coming to a place where they, I'm sure, would not like to, really don't want to come because they would rather not be sick. You don't want them to feel more sick coming to your office because of toxicity that exists on the front end.
It's very true. Yes. So they need to be able to lead the patient through that whole cycle, like we just mentioned. And if your first impression right out of the gate at the practice is negative, they're going to have a whole negative experience throughout their visit.
Yep.
So it really does impact the way that you do your patient satisfaction. It impacts if you're going to have a return of patients.
Right.
So in that way, it impacts revenue too,
right.
Because if your patients don't come back, you do not make your money.
You don't. And so what's your purpose in being there? And I think I've used this expression before. I don't know if you may have heard me, but it was, and I say it often because it stuck with me. It was the best piece of information my ex-husband gave me. He said, fish rots at the head first. So imagine an organization having, it's the fish. And at the top of the fish is the head or management. So if the head rots first, guess what? Everything else rots and dies. So you've got to have, and I know it's, we're in times where it's a challenge, to get people who really are there or really want to do a good job and impact and make things better, because we're living in times where it's kind of like this cloud hovering over this COVID residue. And so, people are still impacted in different ways, and frustrated, but, with things and just life in general gets heavy. But you've got to make sure the people who are at the top or your fish head is well. And they have the characteristics that you need to see in the crossing guard, and air traffic controller, who's consistent, who is ethical, you know what I mean, who is ready and available and eager, you know, to make the difference and make sure that people are safe, you know what I mean, crossing that, you know, street, or in this case, doing the work in the office and making sure that the people who are sick don't become more sick because they came to a toxic office.
Yes. So we talked in our previous videos about accountability.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely feel that applies here too. So if you are a leader, if you are the manager of your organization, it's on you to make sure that you're building a positive culture, because so say I am feeling, you know, just down and out. Do I project that to my employees? Likely you will, even if you don't mean to, because we're all human. And then that feeling will kind of permeate around your office. So it can be hard, but we need to be cognizant about the way that we treat people, the way that we talk to people. And if you are in a position of leadership, it starts with you.
Yes.
And it starts with me. So you need to really look at the way that you are running your operations.
Sometimes you might need to take a day off.
Yeah.
You know,
we all need a reset.
It's what is it? Mental health day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes, you know, when you're going through things, and we all do at times because we have families and some of us don't have families. And that in itself can be a challenge, because you need people around you to love you and to be there for you, and to, you know, it's very healthy to have human contact, you know, and some people, maybe they don't have that. And so they're, you know, they got they're like a brick wall, but I'm digressing a little bit. The point of the matter is, you know, we all have times when we need to step back, take a break, regroup, you know, go read a book on regrouping, or something that gets your mind right, so that you can replenish and then give, you know, feed. It's called eat first, then share, you know.
And that also goes to that you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
So if you are not pouring into yourself, you are going to be depleted.
Yes.
And I mean, I experienced that in a different way in motherhood.
Yes.
Sometimes, because I have young children. So there are many days where I'm just out of energy. I'm just out of everything. And I just feel like I cannot do another thing.
Right.
And so it's in those points where I haven't really been taking care of myself that I will snap back.
Right.
Whether it's my children or poor hubby, or
that's when you have zero capacity.
Exactly. And that can happen in the workplace too. If you are letting what happens in your day to day just get to you a little too much, and you don't have a reprieve, it's inevitable. I think if you don't deal with that, if you don't reset and kind of let things go, you're going to snap back, and you're going to be the type of toxic person that you don't want in your organization.
Yes. So and as a leader, you have to watch that, because they're the person who perhaps at first was good, meaning they showed up, they were happy, they had a smile on their face, they greeted every patient the way that you would love to be greeted. And on the phone, they had this pleasant voice. You could hear the smile when they spoke. All of a sudden, this person is a different person because they're going through some personal things. You have to be watchful. You have to be cognizant. That's the wrong word. You have to really, like I think Tina, you mentioned earlier, you have to be in tune with things so that you can make the adjustments or changes. And sometimes you can't just change, like flip somebody in that position, because you don't have another person, you know what I mean? Or the person that's doing check out can't flip the check in because they have other roles. But what you can do is you can have a nice conversation, and see what's going on, so that you can make that person know that you're here, and see how you can potentially help them so that they can get them back on track with the person that you know, with the skills that you know that they have. So it's important that, you know, you just, again, have the right people in the positions that are the key positions, so that your organization can be successful over and over again, and you can trust and or be rest assured that the people who you are serving, which is your patient, are being served well.
Yes. So I would view it as taking care of your community, the people in your neighborhood,
People
as
in
we
your
started out with.
Yes.
So you want your mayor, the manager,
Yes.
to be in charge and really looking after everybody and setting the right tone.
Yes.
And then you want, your neighbors to be feeling good and happy to be there, and that they can trust in you, your manager, your organization, and they're all working together for a common goal.
Yes, absolutely. And then, success is inevitable when you have the right people on in your neighborhood. So we hope that you enjoyed our little Rogers neighborhood lullaby / story. But in all seriousness, we hope that you do appoint and have the right people as in positions of importance. All of the positions, of course, on your team are important, but there are key positions that really impact how you're viewed. And I just can't impress upon you enough to make sure you get those people with character and high, with confidence and have strong work ethics in those positions and who care, so that, you have people smiling as they leave your office, coming and going.
Yes. And I would say if you need a helping hand finding the qualities of your gatekeepers and your leaders, or if you need some help on the how-to, then we have some resources that can help too.
Yes.
So
Yes.
We have how-tos on how to efficiently manage your front end. We have some how-tos on how to for managers to manage their organization and to get things running smoothly again. And these are all specifically built towards physician practices, so people in healthcare.
Yes.
We have some frameworks that can help. So please reach out to us and check out our website.
Rev'dUpConsulting.com. That is us. And we would love to talk to you some more. We'd love for you to, check out what we got so that you can tap in and get a piece. Anyway, until next time, we appreciate your time. We know it's the most valuable thing that you can give, so we appreciate that. And hope we see you again very soon, and have a wonderful day, night, evening, wherever you are.
Yes. All right. Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Bye.